Thomas Burke, crazy Irishman on a war with the Italian Mafia. You didn't think this was real? Well, you're wrong. This guy was inspired by a real gangster named Danny Green. So we all know the crazy Thomas Burke from Mafia 3, who is the drunken, crazy Irishman who is on a war with the Italian Mafia because of their wrongdoings to him. But this is actually inspired by a true story set early 1960s to the late 1970s with a real Irish gangster named Danny Green, who like Burke controlled the Irish gangs in the cities that they're respectively in. Burke being in New Bordeaux, Danny Green being in Cleveland, Ohio. But they are very similar, and I'm sure that Danny Green was a huge inspiration to Burke's character due to his appearance and his backstory. But few things are different. So I'm here to examine both of them and see the similarities and the differences. So here we go. Well, the first similarity would be the Celtic Trinity used by Burke in Mafia 3, as well known as his little logo thing, but Green was also referred to as the Celtic Warrior. Although Green used a different Celtic sign, they are both under the same category, as they are both like Celtic cultural logos, as they are bonded closely to these logos. But the second similarity would be the appearance. Now this was a big giveaway to Burke being inspired by Danny Green, seeing as they look identical. Well, it's 1970s kind of Danny Burke, not the 1960s. He's sporting the bright orange hair. His hair's similar. He's got the mustache, and they kind of look like each other as well. But also, it's the style of clothing that they wear. Danny Green was known for wearing floral shirts and leather jackets, but notably all green clothing he used to wear, unlike Burke. He doesn't really wear green clothing, but he still wears a fair amount of floral shirts and leather jackets, so I'm going to chalk this down to a similarity. The movie adaptation of Danny Green, it's spitting double of Burke. You would just think that it's Mafia 3 the movie due to how much he looks like Burke, and it just shows that Danny Green looks very similar to a little friend called Thomas Burke. So on to similarity number 3. Similarity number 3 would be that they both had a son in the Irish mob, well, their mob, but as we know, Burke's son is killed in the heist by the Marcano family, but Danny Green's son was not killed, and I think he still lives today, to be fair. But this isn't what was quite interesting. What was quite interesting that he's actually named Danny Burke. Like, his first name is from Danny Green, and then his second name, Burke, being from the gangster Jimmy Burke, who's also an Irish gangster. So, well, he's notably in the movie Goodfellas, if you've ever seen it, Robert De Niro, as he's referred to as Jimmy Conway on there, but it's really Jimmy Burke. And so they would just put Danny Green and Jimmy Burke's names together to make Danny Burke, aka Burke's son. So similarity number 4 is very similar due to backstory. As we know that Burke worked with Marcano, the Italian Mafia in New Bordeaux, but he did a bad job on one of the runs that it cost him his leg and his turf. But something similar like that happened to Danny Green, but it's not so extreme as Burke's story. Danny Green was working for the Italian Mafia as an associate and an enforcer, and at one point he had explosives in his car because he was due to go and blow up a black bookkeeper, and the explosives went off and cost him his hearing permanently for the rest of his life. He was deaf in one ear, and then after, he formed his own gang, the Celtic Club. So as Green started to grow, he needed $75,000 and took a loan from the Gambino crime family, and to set up like a cheap spot, like it's like a gambling hall or a speakeasy. So yeah, they agreed, and then the money was then lost due to the Gambino's courier, who was then arrested at his house, and he actually purchased cocaine, and then it was all seized. So the Gambino wanted the money back, and then the guy who was like the middleman to Green and the Gambino family, he's called Burns, Shondor Burns, and then he wanted the money back, so he pressed on Green, who wouldn't give him the money, seeing as he didn't actually receive the money, which is quite fair because he didn't receive the money, so it's not his fault. And then they just fell out, and then that's where it all began, where the Italians Mafia wanted him dead, and then they started trying to assassinate him by putting car bombs in his car, which ultimately killed him in 1977 after his dentist appointment. But where there's similarities, there's also differences, so I'm just going to read out a couple of differences, not really going to go into depth. One was that he wasn't like a heavy drinker as much as Burke, so there was that. He also wasn't Irish completely, he was Irish American, unlike Burke, who's completely Irish. And another one is that he had a military record, and he worked for the longshoremen, or on a union, on the water side, unlike Burke, who went from Ireland straight to America and went into crime immediately. So that was it. So that was the real Burke, because they're just so similar, and I really think that Danny Green is a huge inspiration to the character of Burke. So yeah, I think there'll be some more videos like this, like some other gangsters, and I'll obviously talk about Carlo Falcone, like from Mafia 2, and who his real person is, and other gangsters. So yeah, like and subscribe for some more, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.